Nehemiah, the man whose name means comforter, was a key figure in the Old Testament. Nehemiah was known for his leadership in rebuilding Jerusalem's walls after the Babylonian exile. But what made Nehemiah so effective? What was it that motivated him to take on such a daunting task? And how did he overcome all the obstacles in his way? In this episode, we're going to be looking at some of the characteristics of Nehemiah that made him such an effective leader. Nehemiah had a sensitive heart. When Nehemiah heard that his fellow Jews had returned to Jerusalem from exile in Babylon, but that the city was in ruins, he was deeply moved. Nehemiah 1 verse 3, "And they said to me, the survivors who are left from the captivity in the province are there in great distress and reproach. The wall of Jerusalem is also broken down, and its gates are burned with fire. He mourned with those who were mourning. He wept with those who were weeping." Realize that the people needed more than just physical help. Nehemiah 1 verse 4, "So it was, when I heard these words, that I sat down and wept and mourned for many days. I was fasting and praying before the God of heaven." They needed a leader with a compassionate heart who could understand their pain and suffering. Nehemiah turned to God in prayer and fasting. Nehemiah knew that he couldn't do this alone. He needed God's help, so he turned to God in prayer and fasting. He asked God for wisdom, strength, and guidance as he took on this new task. This showed that Nehemiah had a strong faith in God, that he was willing to humble himself before God in order to get the help that he needed. Once Nehemiah had sought God in prayer, he had a clear vision of what needed to be done. He knew that the first step was to get permission from the Persian king to rebuild the city walls. He then set out to do just that. This showed that Nehemiah was a man of action. He didn't just sit around and complain about the state of the city. He took it upon himself to do something about it. Nehemiah 2 verse 5, "And I said to the king, if it pleases the king, and if your servant has found favor in your sight, I ask that you send me to Judah, to the city of my father's tombs, that I may rebuild it." Nehemiah was a man of organization. Once Nehemiah had received permission to rebuild the city, he got to work organizing the people. He divided the people into different groups and assigned each group to a specific task. He also made sure that each group had the resources they needed to complete their task. This showed that Nehemiah was a man of great wisdom and foresight. He knew that, in order to rebuild the city, he needed to have a plan, and he stuck to it. Nehemiah 2 verse 17, "Then I said to them, you see the distress that we are in, how Jerusalem lies waste, and its gates are burned with fire. Come and let us build the wall of Jerusalem, that we may no longer be a reproach." Nehemiah was a man of perseverance. Despite all the obstacles in his way, including ridicule, threats, and internal strife, Nehemiah didn't give up. He kept his eye on the prize, and he worked tirelessly to rebuild the city. His perseverance inspired those around him to keep going even when things got tough. Nehemiah 2 verse 19, "But when Sanballat the Horonite, Tobiah the Ammonite official, and Geshem the Arab heard of it, they laughed at us and despised us and said, 'What is this thing that you are doing? Will you rebel against the king?'" Nehemiah was a man of prayer. Throughout the entire book of Nehemiah, we see him turning to God in prayer. He prayed for wisdom, for strength, for protection, and for guidance. Prayer was the center of Nehemiah's life, and it was the key to his success. Nehemiah was a man of faith. Nehemiah knew that he couldn't do this on his own. He needed God's help. So he put his faith in God, and God didn't let him down. In conclusion, Nehemiah was a man of many strengths. He was a man with a sensitive heart, a clear vision, a plan, a man of perseverance, a man of prayer, and a man of faith. All these qualities enabled him to lead the people of Israel to rebuild Jerusalem after the Babylonian exile. However, despite all the good that Nehemiah did, the book of Nehemiah also points to the ongoing struggle with sin that the people of Israel faced. It was only when God sent his Son, Jesus Christ, that lasting change and spiritual renewal came to God's people. Jesus is the ultimate leader who brings about true and lasting peace. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with a friend. Also, don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on the next episode. Remember, God loves you, and so do I. Till the next one, stay blessed.